You know, folks, I think it's very important that we continue to bring the receipts when it comes to Donald Trump and continue to point out to people just how extreme and how dangerous that he truly is. But I got to be honest with you. Every time I share clips like I'm about to share with you, I say to myself, will this be the bridge too far? Will this be the one thing that someone looks at who's still hanging on to the Trump train? Will this be the one thing they look at and they go, you know what? That's a bridge too far. Now, we have saw some people, and we've covered it here on the channel, we have saw some people walk away from MAGA and see the light. But there are still people out there hanging on for dear life to everything that he says, hanging on every note. And they don't tend to care about the company they keep. They don't tend to care about who might show up at a boat parade with them. But I want you to take a look at this clip because this is the kind of company that MAGA is keeping. Take a look.
There we go. White power. Hell, Trump. Yeah. Make America white again. Woo, woo, woo. We're out here in Jupiter, loving it, loving the good weather, blue skies. Woo! Make America white. Let me see that sign, brother. Let me see that sign. There we go, man. My Pillow, 1488. Yay, 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 yay.
So you remember back when Donald Trump said there were good people on both sides? I can't count the times that someone has reached out to me to go, he didn't really say that, man. You guys are taking that out of context. That's been debunked. He didn't really say that. It's not been debunked at all because that event that he said that about was called Unite the Right. And people with those kind of flags showed up and was united with his supporters, and it wasn't a deal breaker for them. They were standing there with their Confederate flags waving it, saying, this is our heritage. And they had people standing beside them with swastikas, and that wasn't a deal breaker. Well, it also wasn't their heritage, but they stood there and was united with them. That's the kind of company that MAGA keeps. Will it ever be a bridge too far? We'll see. But this next clip is his son Eric on a boat that looks like it is absolutely ripped right out of a Saturday Night Live skit. This should have been an old Bob and David from Mr. Show skit. But no, folks, this is real life. This is little old Eric Trump. Take a look. You know, folks, I've been a fan of pro wrestling my whole life. I watched it back in the 80s. My jam was the NWA. I loved Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair, and the Four Horsemen, the Midnight Express with Jim Cornette. That was my stuff. But I will be the first to admit that pro wrestling fans are kind of out there. And there's times when people criticize us pro wrestling fans, and I have to go, yeah, you got us on that one. So how do they watch something like that and then get offended when we call them weird? Shouldn't they just have to go ahead and own it? I mean, isn't that just a little bit weird to you? I mean, it's like, I don't see how you could be his biggest cheerleader, or his biggest supporter, and not go, yeah, that's a little bit fanatical. We'll own it. We're fanatics. But no, they're proud of that. They look to that, and they see that as a sign of strength, and we see it as a bad satirical skit gone wrong. It's what we see when we see it. It's absolutely crazy. But in this next clip, I love this because Kamala Harris brings receipts in front of a live audience. And this is so great because here we have him hanging out there with those kind of people, and he's out there speaking this dictator rhetoric. He praises dictators every chance he gets, and then he talks about how that he needs to be strong here in America. He talks about the enemy from within. He talks about how that people like us should be handled by the military if necessary. That's all dictator talk. That all goes right along with the people that are hanging out with him on a boat. And so Kamala brings the receipts right to their faces in front of a live audience. When she said roll the clip, I about lost it, but take a look.
So here tonight, I will show you one example of Donald Trump's worldview and intentions. Please roll the clip.
The worst people are the enemies from within.
The enemy from within. Those people are more dangerous, the enemy from within, than Russia and China.
These people should be put in jail the way they talk about our judges and our justices. Now, if you had one really violent day, one rough hour, and I mean real rough.
I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military.
That was absolutely genius, to roll the clip and show what he's saying to her audience. Because you know the minute she does that, it's going to get cut up into clips and everyone's going to throw it out there and say, hey, look where Kamala brought the receipts on Trump. That was an absolutely brilliant move. And folks, I am going to flex here for just a minute, okay? I don't normally do this, but I will. Those of us here at the Midas Touch Network and those of us in the pro-democracy movement have been out here bringing these receipts for a long time. And a lot of times we just get written off as like, well, they're just a bunch of, wannabe news reporters sitting in a lawn chair. They ain't nobody real. But I really believe that the world is watching what we do. I really believe the world is paying attention to what we do. And when I saw her say roll the clip, I was like, I'm pretty sure she's probably sat through some Midas Touch videos because it was so brilliant, the way that she brought those receipts. And I really feel like in 20 to 30, 50 years down the line, people are going to look back at this moment in time in American history when the pro-democracy movement was moving, and they'll realize just how revolutionary it was. So there's you a Brando flex. But let's get back to talking. Let's get back to letting Kamala talk about just how dangerous what Donald Trump was saying. Take a look.
So you heard his words. You heard his words coming from him. He's talking about the enemy within Pennsylvania. He's talking about the enemy within our country, Pennsylvania. He's talking about that he considers anyone who doesn't support him or who will not bend to his will an enemy of our country. It's a serious issue. He is saying that he would use the military to go after them. Think about this. And we know who he would target. And we know who he would target because he has attacked them before. Journalists whose stories he doesn't like. Election officials who refuse to cheat by filling extra votes and finding extra votes for him. Judges who insist on following the law instead of bending to his will. This is among the reasons I believe so strongly that a second Trump term would be a huge risk for America and dangerous.
Folks, she's right. We cannot afford another Donald Trump presidency. I truly believe that would be the end of American democracy as we know it, and that's not me trying to be hyperbolic. That's just being realistic. Now, I know there's a whole lot of people out there who say, he don't mean those things he's saying. He's just saying those things to stir the pot and get elected. Are you really going to risk American democracy for that? Are you really going to trust this guy with it? No, what he's done is he's went out there and he's said these things and he's realized they're not deal breakers. He's surrounded himself by Nazis and that wasn't deal breakers. So he says to himself, hey, I've said all these things. I've done all these things. It was never a deal breaker for my followers, for the people that voted for me, that was worried about the price of eggs, so they was willing to throw away democracy. So yeah, I've got free reins to do whatever I want to do. That's exactly what he's thinking. And when he says enemy of the people, the enemy from within, he's talking about me and you. He's talking about the voices inside the pro-democracy movement. He's talking about anybody who opposes him or will not bend to his will. That's who he's talking about, plain and simple. And then they want to turn around and say that Joe Biden's a tyrant and that Kamala's a tyrant and that they're having to face down tyranny. No, they're not. The best example they can give you when you say, okay, bring the receipts, show us where you were persecuted. The best they could do is say, well, we got fact-checked on Facebook. We tried to spread misinformation during a pandemic and they silenced us. That's the best they can do. And meanwhile, they've got a guy coming out saying, hey, if we have to use the military against the people that disagrees with us, so be it. And they're sitting back going, either A, they're sitting back, they don't care, or they would actually enjoy seeing him use it against us, or B, they don't think he would do it because they can't imagine that happening here. Well, I guarantee you there was a bunch of people in 1930s Germany that never thought that would happen there either. And again, I'm not trying to be hyperbolic. I'm just trying to be realistic and get some people to wake up because, like I said at the start of the video, I always say, when will it be a bridge too far? I still know, and I know this is kind of a weird thing to say, but I still know people who I thought were reasonable. who I thought were reasonable people who are still latched onto this. So I'm like, wait a minute, you've got reasonable bones in your body. I've seen you display them before. Why can you not see through this? And why can you not see just how severe this situation is with this guy? He is a complete, unhinged, loose cannon at this point, and he's playing with American democracy. And you're worried about the price of eggs? I don't know if we'll ever get through to all of them, but there has to be somebody out there still sitting there. And I have people a lot of times say, do you really think you're going to reach the hardcore MAGAs? Probably not. But there's always going to be that one on the fence. There's always going to be that one sitting back, listening to their crazy Fox News watching uncle, listening to their crazy mama, listening to their crazy cousin, going, I just keep buying into this. And hopefully they stumble across videos like this in the pro-democracy movement and go, well, you know, that guy's one of us, so I guess it's okay to think that way. Yeah, it's okay to say that Donald Trump is a threat to American democracy, and for the people who says, quit turning up the temperature, tell him to quit sicking the military on us. How about that? Tell him to stop talking like he wants to be a dictator. How about he stops having a hard-on for dictators every time he talks about them? And how about he does the job within the confines of the system and learns how to do that instead of saying, I need immunity to be able to do my job. Folks, this is the most serious election we've ever faced, and we're just a few weeks away from it. And to anybody out there who's still on the fence, I personally don't know how they could be at this point, but we have to keep bringing these receipts. We have to keep showing people what's on the line. And hopefully there will be a lot of people, and I do believe there will be people who will go into the polls, even around here. And I'm not saying Tennessee is going to go blue. Don't think I'm saying that. But I do believe there will be people in our part of the world that will go to the poll, hold their nose, and vote for Kamala Harris. Or B, they'll just stay home. I think he's going to lose. I think she's going to blow him completely out of the water, and they're going to kick and scream and cry. But we'll just keep bringing the receipts, and we've got plenty of them. We have got a whole boatload of receipts, no pun intended, that we can bring. You want to bring your boat with your ridiculous flags and your ridiculous statues and your ridiculous, despicable symbols of hate? We'll bring a whole boatload of receipts. How about that? And we'll meet you there. And you won't be able to hold up against it. So, folks, I thank you guys so much for supporting what it is that I do. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 500,000 subscribers here on the page, and I do believe we can get there. We hit 100,000 back in late March, early April, and we've already tripled that. So we'll get there, and I appreciate your support so much.